Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of World News by Billie, episode 15. Today's date, May 19, 2023. This is my third YouTube channel. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share on YouTube and Rumble. Some of my sources are God and the Bible, Patriot subscribers. A recent interview by Steephen Gardner of Colonel Tony Shafer, BPEarthwatch, Pastor Paul Begley, and Mike from around the world. A book written, Pray, by Michael Crichton in 2002. WION, Israeli News Live, Steven Ben-Nun. Hal Turner's website, another website, Warsaw Institute. Okay, some of the things we'll be covering. The U.S., I put out a recent video, the U.S. military has been nuked. It's been confirmed because a lot of sites are coming out. No, there wasn't any depleted uranium there. It didn't happen. Shut up. Okay. Secret NATO plans. Oh, you didn't realize by now that Ukraine was just a proxy for NATO? Okay. After all, what do you think NATO's going to plan to do with all those tens of thousands of American sons and daughters in the U.S. military who are located now in Poland, Romania, Estonia, Latvia, plus? Yeah. Okay. And what's going on in Finland? So let's get started. So I'll begin by drawing a map of Ukraine and other areas where NATO is locating the sons and daughters of American fathers and mothers who are in the U.S. military. Okay, so we have Russia, Ukraine, we've got Poland, Hungary, Romania, Moldova, that's a small country here, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Kaliningrad, a Russian enclave. We have over here Russia, actually extends all the way over here. We've got Belarus. And now we have Finland, Sweden, Norway. Some interesting things going on there. Okay. So let's get started. Okay. So now, Israeli News Live, Steven Ben-Nun, formerly with the CIA, now has a ministry and regularly gets updates from the Pentagon, has confirmed, as far as I'm concerned, that there was depleted uranium released a few days ago that has now passed over into Poland, blown there by the wind. It is radioactive. It is a poison. Breathe in enough initially, it can kill you. If not, in 6 months, you'll have lung cancer. So that explosion occurred. That was a result of Russia blowing up a warehouse that was storing depleted uranium for the UK, England's Challenger tanks using depleted uranium. And then it blew south into Poland, where we have 40 to 50,000 U.S. military located. And then the trolls and disinfo tried to come out and say, no, that really wasn't depleted uranium, and there's no radioactive poison in the air to threaten U.S. military. Steven Ben-Nun is coming out, and I understand, it appears to me, Steven's way of putting it out, trying to say it was Russia who put the radioactive material here. I understand that that's kind of a sleight of hand to say, no, it wasn't the U.S., it wasn't the U.K., it wasn't NATO who put the depleted uranium here and released radioactive material that's now poses a health and threat to the safety and well-being of U.S. military soldiers and others. The Polish people, the people in Hungary, the people in Romania, the people in Moldova, the people in Ukraine, plus Russia, all of this area. No. Okay. So what Steephen did, by the information he put out, and I'll link that for you, is confirm depleted uranium, a radioactive material that's also a poison, has been released. So that's going on. And also he was talking about Iran. Now Iran is somewhere down here. And over in this area, down lower, we would have Israel and Lebanon and Jordan. Okay. Now, for decades, we've been hearing, Iran, they're going to get nukes this year. And I said years ago, shut up. They've had nukes for decades, which is accurate. And Steephen Beene is putting this out. President O actually sold U.S. tactical nukes to Iran while he was posing as president of the United States of America. Yeah, that's happening. And now we have this. Yes, and Steephen's also bringing this out about people saying they saw a mushroom cloud in this area, but that's been confirmed. Okay. And also Iran and Israel, there's evidence that the two shadow governments of Iran and Israel are colluding so that it seems as if Iran is going to nuke Israel. But the two governments are together on it. Yeah. That way they know when to get out of town and let the people get nuked. Okay. So yeah, that's going on. Now we have this. We have, all right. So this is either secret information was released from Brussels, Belgium, which is the headquarters of NATO, to Hal Turner, or NATO is releasing disinfo. So I'll put this out. Supposedly these are the secret NATO plans for the spring offensive. Oh, and I think most people now on a global basis understand that Ukraine has been operating as a proxy for NATO. So we have NATO getting ready for the spring offensive against Russia. And these plans imply, first of all, is weather. That's correct, because Ukraine is world famous for its very fertile soils. When this first began, I had a word from the Lord, don't spoil the turnips. And I thought, how odd. And it's because Ukraine produces, is the #1 producer of turnips for all of Europe, as well as many other plants. And it's because the soil is a black soil that goes down 6 to 12 inches. It's very fertile, but it also causes a problem when it's rainy weather, in that it's muddy 6 to 12 inches deep. So first consideration is weather, and I checked what is the normal weather for Ukraine in May, and typically it's mild, high 60s to low 70 degrees, and light showers, so not heavy rains. All right, so in their first wave, the NATO is going to use drones. And first of all, we have so here is Ukraine. Let me draw this. We have Ukraine. We have Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Odessa. Okay, we have Crimea down here. Now, in their first wave along their front line, and we would reasonably speculate the front line, these are areas that Russia annexed. So it's reasonable to believe the front line is going to be somewhere here. And supposedly it's going to be 600 miles long, which is about 900 plus kilometers. And that NATO is going to have 60 to 80,000 troops, while Russia has something like 350,000, 200,000 of which will be combat troops, because 150,000 speculated to be support people. Okay, so what you would have beginning would be a reverse of the traditional military objective. To be successful in an offensive, you want your troops to be 3 to the enemy's troops of 1. But what you would have here from NATO's perspective is the opposite. You would have your adversary, Russia, having 3 and you having 1. So a 3-to-1 ratio of soldiers. Not considered to be a winning combo. Now, what they're first going to do, and the first wave, is release 5,000 drones in swarms. And we saw that swarm concept in the book Prey, written by Michael Crichton in 2002. And there's some speculation that there was some secret information involved in his writing of that book, Prey. At any rate, the drones are supposed to be released in swarms. 50 in the first wave, 50% seek and kill Russian soldiers, 50% to take out specific targets. And so they're calling the first wave is going to use long distance, also a massive group of missiles and HIMARS to hit Russia both on land and on the sea, and possibly inside Russia also. And the drones will be operated by NATO using satellites. So that's going on. Also, in the first wave, NATO is going to put paratroopers on the other side of the front line. And we recall in Romania, we have something like 4,500 U.S., I think that's the first airborne group, paratroopers. Yeah. And they're going to put out a lot of disinformation and trolls and do a psy-op. Okay, second wave. Ukraine is going to be over the front line. They're going to cross the front line. They're also going to have these paratroopers already behind the front line, and they're going to use ground troops. In the third wave, they're going to have their pre-positioned paratroopers and their ground troops apply, a movement there, a trap Russia. Fourth wave, they're going to commit all of NATO's resources to hit Russia, inside Ukraine and inside Russia, land, air, and sea. In the fifth wave, it's a dome secret, and they're going to have 500 NATO planes, and I would speculate they may be being pre-positioned now in Finland. I'll get to that. So, yeah, that's going on. It's a possibility that the 500 NATO planes may also carry nukes. So that's going on. Okay, so now we'll cover some other things. We'll cover a interview that Stephen Gardner had with retired Colonel Tony Shafer. He's talking about Finland and Russia. So there's a shared border between Russia and Finland. And we know Finland recently joined NATO. And the question from Steephen to Colonel Shafer was, Russia had pre-positioned a few days ago 18 strategic bombers. That would be the big ones. And what was the purpose? And Colonel Shafer said it's just to show force to Finland, and we'll find out that to intimidate Finland. Yeah. And now also Colonel Shafer is providing some information about the Kinzhal, that's Russia missile that allegedly could not be taken down by the U.S. Patriot missile system. But Colonel Shafer brought this out, and what he brings out correlates to previous research I've done. The Kinzhal is faster than all known radar systems. That is accurate. But it's also accurate that it has to slow down in order to hit its target. That makes it vulnerable. And so Colonel Shafer is saying that it's possible for the Patriot to take out the Kinzhal. So that's going on. And now we're hearing inside Russia that the President Putin had some of the scientists who designed the Kinzhal arrested. This is just talk going on because the Patriots were successful in taking down some of the Kinzhals. So that's going on. And now we have this. We have WION reporting what's going on the G7. Now, the G7 is an economic group of countries that are versus the current BRICS group going on. That'd be Brazil, Russia, India, China plus. So G7 is an older economic, and they do participate in certain defense obligations. Okay, so the G7 is meeting in Japan, and their first mission, they did a memorial over Hiroshima, one of the two locations for the World War II nukes were dropped. I submit to you, this was not just fall out of the sky. There's a message being programmed here. Okay. And so the G7 nations are the US, UK, England, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan. And also present in this meeting in Japan that's going on yesterday and today and tomorrow are observer nations, which includes many nations who are currently part of the BRICS, like all of Europe, Australia, New Zealand. Well, Australia and New Zealand are not part of BRICS. India is part of BRICS. They have observers there. Brazil is part of BRICS. They have an observer, as does South Korea, Indonesia, and Vietnam. So That's going on with G7, but I submit that meeting at the Hiroshima nuke site, there's something there. Now we have this. We have Pastor Paul Begley interviewed Mike from around the world. He's talking about the G7 meeting is going on, along with the Bilderberg Meeting. It's being held May 18 to 21 in Portugal. This is the new world order, and many of the people attending head up U.S. federal government agencies. We find it hard to believe that they're in bed with the new world order, but that's going on. Okay, we have this. We have BPEarthwatch talking about what's going on in Lebanon. So we have Europe, we have Ukraine, and then down here we would have Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, Lebanon. What's going on? The New World Order is building this massive bunker. They sheared off the top of a mountain, and they're building it on top of the mountain and under it. I'll link that video for you. Now, why would they be building it in Lebanon? Well, Mike from around the world previously brought out a map in a webinar with Pastor Paul Begley. What's going to happen with this current space event coming in, affecting different areas of the world? So this is a current map put up by the NSA and other agencies of the U.S. government showing that this part of the world, when this space event happens, like we would call it Planet X, is going to be safer. So having bunkers for the elite being built in Lebanon, and of course, who would be paying for that? That would be the U.S. taxpayer. Absolutely. We pay for everything in the world. All of our money is stolen from our nation, taken out and passed around. Okay, we have this. Right, so we have now in Finland, and it shares a border with Russia, and we saw one of those waves for the NATO plan was called Secret, involving 500 NATO planes. Now, MonkeyWorks just yesterday or the day before substantiated that U.S. military stratofuelers and fighters were on their way to Finland. And what's going on in Finland? First, they have bowled over is a type of military exercise. It's going to last the last 2 weeks in May and involve 2,200 soldiers from 14 nations. Australia, Belgium, Sweden, Denmark have also sent equipment. But there's a second exercise going on, May 20 to June 4, called Arctic Challenge. And this is the one that MonkeyWorks was talking about, the largest congregation of fighter planes in the history of the militaries. That's going on. Planes from all of NATO, and also we have the U.S. Air Force and U.S. Marines will be stationed in Kallis Base in Sweden, Boda Base in Norway, and Rovaniemi Base in Finland. So it's Finland, Sweden, and Norway. And I submit to you, Sweden is not a member of NATO. After they did their investigation into who blew up the Russian pipeline. They decided not to join NATO, but they're actively participating. Now, we have this. So now we know where the 500 NATO planes are coming from for this fifth wave to take place late May and June. I submit it's coming from this military exercise that's taking place right now. So we need to understand, yes, disinformation's coming out, psyops, trolls. Okay, but what do we see with our eyes? And we see these planes being congregated. We see our sons and daughters in the U.S. military being stationed in pre-combat locations. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania. That's going on. So, and we had that pre-positioning of strategic B-52 bombers and the juiced up nukes to Europe. That took place in December. So that's all going on. So I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there. Continue to pray. God is in charge and He is on the move. I love you and I'll see you soon.